It took American women more than 72 years of arduous struggle to win the vote, from the Seneca Falls Convention on Women's Rights in 1848 to the passage of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution in 1920. Countless suffragists, both renowned and unsung, lent their support, hard work, and contributions to the movement that afforded American women full citizenship. Abolitionists Sarah and Angelina Grimke and suffragists Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Carrie Chapman Catt, and multitudes of other stalwarts, locally and nationally, shaped a movement that was a bloodless revolution in American history. Three suffragists that played a major role in the latter portion of the movement at the turn of the 20th century and in the suffrage parade on Washington, D.C. in 1913 were Alice Paul, Inez Milholland, and Mary Church Terrell. Alice Paul was born in 1885 in New Jersey to a Quaker family that believed in gender equality, education for women, and working to improve society. She gained exposure to the women's suffrage movement at a young age when her mother took her to women's suffrage meetings. In 1912, Paul and suffragist Lucy Burns joined the National American Woman Suffrage Association, or the NAWSA, leading the Washington, D.C. chapter. While the NAWSA had primarily focused on state-by-state campaigns, Paul preferred to lobby Congress for an amendment to the Constitution. Paul and her colleagues went on to found the National Woman's Party to pursue their tactics. As her first large-scale push for the public support of women's right to vote, Paul organized the largest parade that had ever occurred in Washington, D.C. On March 3, 1913, the day before Woodrow Wilson's first inauguration, around 5,000 women marched with banners and floats down Pennsylvania Avenue from the Capitol to the White House. Later, in January 1917, they spent 18 months picketing. Over 1,000 silent sentinels slowly marched day and night in front of the White House gates, displaying suffrage banners with messages such as, "Mr. President, how long must women wait for liberty?" The police began arresting them for obstructing traffic. Paul was sentenced to jail for 7 months. In jail, she organized a hunger strike to protest their incarceration. By 1918, President Wilson publicly announced his support for suffrage, but it took 2 more years for the Senate, House, and the required 36 states to approve the amendment. Inez Milholland, labor lawyer, feminist, and suffragist, was born in 1886. A pacifist in World War I, Inez became a war correspondent in Italy. She gained fame as a suffrage herald, riding a horse at the head of 2 vast suffrage marches, one down New York's Fifth Avenue in May of 1913, and the other in Washington, D.C. 2 months earlier. She attended Vassar and earned a law degree from New York University in 1912. At Vassar, she enlisted some of her fellow students in the College Equal Suffrage League. She also joined radical causes, including the Women's Trade Union League, the Child Labor Committee, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the National Woman's Party, and proclaimed herself a socialist. Despite severe anemia, she undertook a strenuous speaking tour of Western states for the National Woman's Party. She was also recruited to the National American Woman Suffrage Association's Congressional Committee and soon demonstrated a powerful ability to stir crowds at rallies on behalf of the Congressional Union for Woman Suffrage. In her Los Angeles speech in the fall of 1916, Milholland collapsed and later died, becoming a martyr for the movement. Her last public words before her fall were, "Mr. President, how long must women wait for liberty?" Civil rights activist and suffragist Mary Church Terrell was born in Memphis, Tennessee in 1864. The daughter of former slaves, she was one of the first African American women to earn a college degree and would become an important leader in the fight for African American women to become full citizens of the United States. Terrell lectured throughout the country on the importance of the vote for black women. She deemed the vote essential for the elevation of black women and consequently the entire black race. Terrell saw education as essential in obtaining racial uplift and respectability, and helped to found the National Association of Colored Women in 1896. She marched in the 1913 suffrage parade in Washington and worked with colored women suffrage groups in New York in their successful 1917 campaign. Following the passage of the 19th Amendment, Terrell turned her attention to civil rights. In 1948, she became the first black member of the National Association of University Women. Terrell fought for women's suffrage and civil rights because she realized that she belonged to the only group in this country that has two such huge obstacles to surmount, both sex and race.